Well, howdy do, buckaroos. How the heck are you? Actually, it got dark awful fast on me. What I did last video was it was getting dusk, but it went from dusk to dark in a heartbeat, man. Oh, what the hell? I like being outside. It's very hot and sticky today, and it's starting to be almost tolerable now. So what the hell? If you can see me, so I've got some Jim Beam rye. I'm going to take a shot and a half and pour some over some ice. So this glass holds a shot and a half. So if you can read that there, but it says shot and a half up to that line. I'm going to pour about a shot and a half, pour it into my neat glass. And I'm going to take this whiskey and put it, let's see, can you see it there? I'm not sure where I can put it where you can see it. Well, I think I'll keep it by me. I'm worried it's going to fall down over there. I'm just going to hang on to it. Anyways, how the heck are you, man? So I got my Jim Beam black glass. I've got it neat. Actually, I've used this to drink rocks before, but it's really more suited for neat drinking. This bigger glass really works better for on the rocks. I compare aromas side by side here. This is a very interesting pre-Prohibition style rye. And it's only 20 bucks a bottle, and I say only because I mean Jack Daniel's has a rye that runs over 40, which I've had, and I personally prefer this one to that, to be honest with you. I'm not going to say it's better because better implies quality, but what I will tell you without a doubt is that one at 40 bucks isn't better than this one. How about that? So aromas. I do feel more spice on the rocks. I mean, neat rather. I do feel more sugars neat. I'm getting, I did notice that earlier, but right now I'm getting a hint of vanilla that I wasn't picking up earlier. So anyways, I'm going to take a drink of the rocks here. It's just very smooth. It's a very easy drinking rye. Now I've had one drink out of my rocks glass. I'm going to or my neat glass. I'm going to concentrate on this rocks because I don't want it to get too melty. There's a sweet spot when drinking whiskey on the rocks. Some people think it's sacrilege to drink whiskey on the rocks. I don't. From say mid-September on into probably into March, I drink predominantly neat, but summer months I do find cold whiskey refreshing. But again, there is a sweet spot. If you get too much water, you ruin the flavor altogether. But you get that right amount of meltage in there, that whiskey gets cold, and it brings out certain flavors that you may miss neat. And there's a certain point where you get that right amount of cold, right amount of ice meltage, and it really brings out all those sugars in the whiskey, and it's absolutely brilliant. I call it the sweet spot because it brings out the sugars. Get it? That's why I call it sweet. Anyways, yeah, it's how we get it. It ain't that difficult a concept. Anyways. So you may have or may not have noticed my different surroundings. I'm out on my front porch. My wife and I have recently moved. It wasn't by design, but I think it will work out for the best in the long run. If you want the full skinny, I've got the story on my website, TomTheBeerWhisperer.com. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that when it was first happening, we were very upset, but once we found out what was going down, you know, we were able to say, well, we can either stop moving or move forward, and we decided to move forward. So we have new surroundings, it's a new neighborhood, Still in Springfield, but having the different surroundings, you know, has actually been good for both of us. You know, our old neighborhood was gotten stagnated, gotten unfriendly. Just a lot of, I hate to get stereotypical, but it's a lot of old cranky people, man. It was either the folks that own the houses. We've been there 25 years. But there were some older folks there. They just gotten old and cranky, and the rest were renters. And it just got frustrating, you know. It really started about 4 years ago when we first came back to town. After, you know, we lost our son Seamus to cancer, so we're distraught. We're just, I mean, our minds aren't in the right place, and we get home. We lost our son. We're in St. Louis. So it's 4 days after he died before we could come home, getting all the arrangements taken care of. And we get home and we get to the mailbox, and some jackass had turned us into the city for not mowing our yard. Seriously. Everybody in the fucking neighborhood. I mean, everybody in the neighborhood. It's not like they didn't know what our situation was. Everybody knew that our son had cancer and was dying. But yet some bastard turned us into the city for not mowing our yard, knowing we hadn't been home. Anyways, and it just kind of snowballed from there over the years. It was just, you could see something developing. I never knew who was turning us in, although I have my suspicions, but there was clearly something going on, and I don't know. Anyways, the bottom line is we're no longer there. It looked like it was going to be a bad thing for a little bit, but now it's turning out to be positive. It's just rebuilding time for the wife and I, so we're just happy to be not there anymore, happy to be away. I think part of what was holding us back was that negativity in that neighborhood, you know what I mean? There was so much negativity there that was really hard to stay positive, and now we're somewhere else, a completely different environment, even though it's, I don't know, maybe a mile and a half from where we were. It just feels like a completely different place, so we're very happy to be finally maybe trying to move forward with our lives. You know, I don't know that you ever recover from losing a child, you know, and I think that was a lot of the problem was when we first lost Seamus, that my instinct was to never go to that house again, right? As a man, I didn't want to be in there. There was just too much to have to even, the first time I walked through that front door after coming back home was brutal for me, because then I had to relive everything. Now, my wife was complete. I mean, it really was a complete 180, because her first instinct was because I was hoping we'd be on the same page, right? We're getting ready to talk, and the first thing she says, I never want to leave that house ever. And the first thing that I wanted to say was, I hope we never have to walk in that house again. But I sucked it up, and I walked in the house, and because I knew it was going to be hard for her to leave it, so I let it go. But then over the last, 4 years, I think she's come more to, my way of thinking that maybe you can't blame a house, you can't blame an inanimate object for your situation, but a lot of the memories, and we certainly have a lot of good memories in the house, but then there's a lot of being in the house reminds you of things that you're not reminded of when you're not in the house. So I'm hoping that not being there will help us get away from those things. It already seems to be helping. We both seem to be in a better frame of mind not being there, not being in that asshole of a neighborhood, that armpit of a fucking neighborhood. It's not like it was a bad neighborhood. It was just a lot of assholes, man. A lot of people that just don't care about anybody but themselves. Instead of knocking on your door and say, hey, are you okay? Is there any reason why you haven't mowed this week? Instead, they just call the fucking city. It's just a lot of asshole behavior like that. I don't know why people just can't be decent human beings. So with the help of a friend, we found a place we could afford right away and get into, and so that's what we did. It's different than we're used to. But heck, my wife and I, we're not materialistic people anyway. Neither one of us. I mean, of course, our old house wasn't very big anyway. This is where we're living at now is about half the size, but I mean, we didn't have a big house to start with, so we're not materialistic people. We don't need a lot. Neither one of us ever want a big house. We're just not that kind of people. We're not put on air kind of folks, you know what I mean? Put on airs kind of folks. We're just, you know, grew up working class. I'm gonna die that way probably. Hell, even if I did come into some money at some point, even if I got lucky and one of my ideas took off, you know, I would still live about the same way I live now. I just wouldn't worry about, you know, the amount of whiskey. I don't know the beer, but I'd live rather the same. I wouldn't buy a mansion. I don't. Who the hell wants a mansion? I don't know. I don't want to ride in limos. I guess I'm different that way. I'd never own a Ferrari. I'm just a guy that likes to live simple, so I don't dig pretension. I don't like it at all. I'm certainly not ever going to become it. So there you go. So as I finish up my rocks, Jim Beam rye. So Jim Beam pre-Prohibition style rye. This shit's fucking awesome. It really is. It's a 90 proof rye for only $20. It is the best $20 rye I think you're ever going to buy. You thought I was done, didn't you? I'm not. Damn, you're gonna keep talking, Tom. Some biscuit. Yeah, I'm gonna finish my neat version up for you. Want to get that rocks down because I didn't want to get too much melters going on because it is very hot out here. Even still, even after the sun has gone down, it's gotten dark, the lights have come on, the bugs have come out, little bastards. Oh, motherfucker. Anyways, I digress. So if your question to me is overall, which do I prefer this whiskey, rocks or neat? I'm going to tell you neat. However, I will tell you that you will get some flavors neat that you're not going to get on the rocks. And sometimes, again, sometimes rocks just feels good. I mean, I'm probably going to have another rocks drink out of this whiskey I've got left just because it does taste good. But if I had to pick one over the other, yes, of course, it's better neat. It's more nuanced, it's more flavorful, but cold, there's something good about that too. So there you go. Well, biscuits. Well, biscuits and gravy, man. Anyways, I am Tom the Beer Whisperer. No, I'm not. I'm Tom the Whiskey Whisperer. Remember what you're doing, man. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, man. Ah, shit a brick. Sometimes I feel like the Alex Karras character in Blazing Saddles. Mongo don't know, Mongo only pawn in game of life. Sometimes I feel like Mongo. Mongo don't know, Mongo only pawn in game of life. Oh, mercy. My dad was a Beam drinker, regular Beam. Of course, back then, I mean, you didn't see any other products. It was Jim Beam, you know. They didn't have 100 products out there like they do now. Anyways, he drank Jim Beam most of the time. Every once in a while, he'd buy some Jack Daniels because Jack Daniels was more expensive. And at that time, it was a 90 proof whiskey usually when he was drinking it. And then when times were really good, he would really go. He'd go to the Wild Turkey 101. But, his go-to whiskey, I suppose, was always Jim Beam. Dad drank Jim Beam in water, though. I would never drink it the way he did, but I kind of understand why he did it, coming from that time. He basically took a short highball glass, which was a, short cylindrical glass, filled it with ice, filled it basically almost to the top with Jim Beam, and then with a splash of water. And that's how he drank his whiskey, but I wouldn't do that too. I like this great big cube. I like the one great big square. I have some globe molds, and before I got my square molds, I would use those. I really like the globe molds, and then my wife found those square molds for me, and then I like them better, man. You know, I've gone to a couple whiskey bars that use those, you know, square cubes, and I really like the square cubes better than the globes now that I've gotten used to them. So I've got 2 ice trays, and I like them, man. You're rambling. I know, I'm just having a conversation, man. I don't stay on task, because when you're in a pub talking to folks, you don't stay on task. You just talk about whatever at any given time. That's what you do, man. You do feel more sugars once you get this with a little bit of water melting in here. But it is a little bit sweet. You do feel spice from 2 different directions. You feel the rice spice, and you feel spice from the new charred white oak barrels. You also will get a hint of vanilla from those charred white oak barrels. Just a hint of that smoke. You do get some you know, you get some oak notes, but they're very subtle. This whiskey is very smooth and very mellow compared to, say, at the same price point, the Jim Beam Double Oak Bourbon, which is much bolder, a whole lot of oak, obviously, because it's double oak. But I didn't want to drop price points on you. So do I prefer bourbon to rye? Probably, because I'm used to drinking bourbon, you know. But having purchased this and having had enjoyed this as much as I have, I'm going to have to try some other ryes just to compare to them. There's a couple slightly higher price points I want to get to. There's a couple at lower price points I want to try, just to kind of, you know what I'm saying, kind of compare the two. I guess there's that classic old Overholt, runs about $16 a bottle. Again, I'm not going to repurchase the JD at 40-something a bottle, because it's way overpriced in my opinion. Well, there's a couple others I may revisit that are slightly higher than this one at some point when I'm able to afford them. But $20 was the most I could splurge this particular time. But I gotta tell you, for $20, it's a damn fine whiskey. It really is. So there you go. I am Todd of Beer Whisperer. No, I'm not. I'm Todd the Whiskey Whisperer. At this particular moment, I'm having some rye whiskey. So I am a prolific whiskey drinker, BeerVangelist, Purveyor of Wisdom, and all around good guy. Y'all have a good one.